Microsoft Excel functions as the invisible infrastructure of the global economy, from micro businesses tracking retail inventory to massive enterprise manufacturers managing complex production pipelines. Organizations rely on these spreadsheets to process their core financial data. This grid represents a massive hidden risk in that infrastructure. When auditors analyze operational corporate spreadsheets, they find that between 88 and 91% of them contain material errors. Nearly every document driving major financial decisions is mathematically flawed. The consequences of those flaws scale with the size of the institution. In 2012, JP Morgan Chase suffered a catastrophic failure known as the London Whale incident. A single copy and paste error in an Excel risk model caused the bank to underestimate its synthetic credit portfolio volatility, directly leading to $6.2 billion in trading losses. These disasters occur when a tool designed for personal notes is forced to behave like an enterprise-scale transaction engine. At this volume, the ad hoc design of a standard workbook becomes a liability, requiring a transition from simple spreadsheets into a formal, engineered system architecture. To understand how a system is engineered to prevent these failures, we have to track the physical journey of a single financial transaction as it enters the architecture. The journey begins at the first tier, the transaction processing system. This is where raw external data, like a CSV file exported from a point-of-sale terminal, is ingested into the workbook. This diagram shows the first layer of defense. Data cannot be pasted into the system at will. It must pass through structural boundaries, data validation rules that filter the inputs and reject invalid ranges or account formats before they can infect the ledger. Once the data is standardized, it drops into the second tier, the financial reporting system. Here, lookup arrays and aggregation formulas automatically pull and route the data into specific general ledger accounts, according to a structured chart of accounts. This transformation is governed by the double entry balance rule. The system acts as a mathematical scale, requiring that total debits equal total credits for every transaction set before the data can proceed. While this automated routing creates a balanced financial report, the highly interconnected nature of these formulas creates a massive vulnerability. In a linked system, a single human error at the start of the chain can cascade through the entire architecture. Cognitive research establishes that humans possess a baseline cell error rate of 1 to 5% when creating complex logic and formulas. Even for experienced developers, a few typos in every 100 cells is a biological certainty. Because an accounting system relies on linked cascading formulas, those mistakes are never isolated. The output of one flawed cell becomes the raw input for every downstream computation. This formula demonstrates how that risk scales. The probability of a material defect in the final output isn't just the sum of the errors, it's an exponential calculation based on the total number of calculation cells in the chain. In a moderately large workbook, a tiny 4% baseline error rate mathematically compounds. As the data flows through the web of nodes, the probability of error quickly reaches 100%, guaranteeing a material defect in the final output. Relying on manual auditing to stop this chain reaction is largely ineffective. Psychological error blindness causes developers to miss up to 60% of their own formula mistakes during solo reviews. Because exponential compounding makes finding errors manually a mathematical impossibility, the architecture itself must be engineered to contain them. To mitigate these risks, organizations must implement formal governance frameworks, such as the FAST standards, which prioritize flexibility, structure, and transparency in financial modeling. First, absolute structural separation. Workbooks must isolate inputs, calculations, and outputs onto completely separate worksheets, creating physical firewalls. Second, never hard-code constants. Operational parameters like tax rates must be isolated in input cells. The calculation layer must contain only dynamic links. Builders should also integrate automated internal controls directly into the sheets. Conditional formatting and batch alerts can be designed to highlight debit-credit imbalances or inventory errors the moment they occur, reducing the reliance on human inspection. Finally, management must define explicit operational triggers for the system's lifecycle. A predetermined threshold for transaction volume or user concurrency must dictate exactly when to migrate from Excel to a dedicated ERP system. Excel provides immediate deployment and functional flexibility for growing enterprises, but those advantages require a trade-off: Unless the data pipeline is managed with the rigid discipline of software engineering, the system remains a billion-dollar disaster waiting to happen.